this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. Well, I've got to give it to you, everybody. When you say that Black Americans are the blueprint, I used to think that people were just saying something just to be saying it. But I'm starting to think that y'all are right. Black Americans are the blueprint. And what I mean by that is that we have truly been victimized by the system. We have been in a situation where laws have been written about us. A law had to be passed to free our ancestors from slavery, to give them citizenship in this country and the right to vote. A law had to be passed in America just for us to be able to get a drink of water and go to the bathroom using public facilities. So I think that's a pretty good case being made for people being victimized. Now everybody else had the free will to do all the things that we could not do, and laws had to be passed so we could do them. So we had to learn to advocate for ourselves, and we came up with some pretty good talking points. And it seems like other people have decided they're going to take our talking points and try to make it seem like they've been victimized too. Case in point. Failing to properly represent Latinos costs Hollywood billions every year. Here's how. Now, where have we heard this before? Not properly representing Black people in Hollywood, in the media? Where have we heard this before? Now the Latinos have grabbed our talking point, and now it's all about them not being properly represented in Hollywood when they spent 100 years trying to pass for white. Now all of a sudden, they want to be Latinos. And you can see they've got this Afro-Latino, as they call her, Zoe Saldana, who has been taking roles that Black people should have. And the reason nobody has written a role for her and people like her is because they migrated to the United States because they wanted to. Nobody forced them here. This whole thing about they're not representing us and they're doing this, you could go home. You could go back to your own country where you are being properly represented. It is madness. Everybody jumping up talking about what America's not doing for them when they came here because they wanted to. So according to the Latinos, the U.S. entertainment industry is missing out on billions of dollars each year by failing to adequately represent Latinos, one of the largest consumer groups. The only problem with that is that the Latinos are not a group. They are many countries in the United States that's been mashed together to create this phony Latino group. You've got Mexicans, Cubans, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Venezuelans, Guatemalans, Ecuadorians. It just goes on and on and on. And all of those people have their own way of speaking Spanish. They have their own culture. They have their own ways of doing things that are different than the other. They come from different forms of government. They're not in agreement. When I taught at a middle school, we had an international day at our school, and we were trying to get children to work together from different regions of the world because some of them didn't have a large group of people from their country. So we didn't have many African students, so all of the African students worked together. The Asian children worked together. The European children worked together. The only problem came was with those Latinos, people from Paraguay, as the children were saying. They didn't even want to work with the children from Mexico. Children from Puerto Rico didn't want to work with the Dominicans. One of the Latino parents said something so mean to one of those Latino children that we had to call her into a conference because she really didn't want her child to be identified with Mexicans. She really wanted her child to work with white kids. But it was like, we're not doing it like that. but they were the most difficult. So trying to say that they are a group is a misnomer. They are a number of groups that's been pushed together for political reasons. When we started saying that we were a 1.3, 1.6, $2 trillion a year economy in the United States, then they started saying what they were. When political pundits started focusing on the Black American voting bloc and saying Black Americans might pick the next president, then they started saying they were going to pick the next president. So whatever we start saying we're doing, it's just going to be a matter of time before they grab onto it and start saying it. They might be telling the truth. They could be telling the truth. But I'm just saying that they say it after we say it, so it sounds suspicious. So the article gives a breakdown of how much Latinos spend in movies, films, video games, and so forth in the entertainment industry. And so they are making the case that they spend so much money in the entertainment industry that there should be more representation of them in that industry. And nobody can dispute that. I know that Black Americans spent money going to movies, buying comics books, and watching television shows for years, decades, before we were featured in anything. So I certainly understand what they're saying there. But despite all of this, their representation in film and television is lacking. They held just 8% of acting roles in the top 100 grossing movies of the year, including only 2% of lead roles. But that's what happens when you haven't established your own identity in a country. Again, they spent 100 years trying to be white. White people are not going to give up their roles for them. And white people know the difference between a white person and a Latino. So that's their biggest problem right there. They were trying to identify with a group that's not them. So that's just what you get. So anyway, the article goes on and on about how important they are in their spending power to the entertainment industry. But the fact remains that they have to do like Black Americans. You have to establish your identity based on who you are, not on who somebody else is. White people are not going to let you grift onto their platforms. So everybody who thinks that is going to be disappointed. Fortunately for us, we didn't have a choice. We had to establish our own identity. We have our own culture. We have our own stories that we are very good at telling, and they are compelling because they are centered right here in the USA. So good luck with the Hispanics and trying to get their representation, but it will take a while probably, and it's very understandable that they would want to be represented. But the mistake that they made was not establishing their own identity from the start. I think I'm right, but you let me know what you think. Thanks for listening. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and have a good evening.